So are you going to be able to handle all
With
this?
Dash, who figured out you could run on the water?
We'll call to order the City Council meeting for the City of East Grand Forks for June 18th, 2024. City Clerk, please call roll.
Mayor Steve Gander.
Here.
Council President Mark Olstead.
Here.
Council Vice President Tim Riopel.
Here.
Council Members Clarence Vetter, Ben Pakshavinsky,
Present.
Dale Helms, Brian Larson,
Here.
Karen Peterson.
Here.
Does term quorum. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Open forum and opportunity for members of the public to address the City Council on items not on the current agenda. Items requiring council action will be referred to staff, boards, and commissions for research in future council's agenda if appropriate. Is anybody here to address the City Council at this time? I see none. Move on to approval of minutes for June 4th regular meeting, minute summary of June 4th closed meeting, and June 11th work session. Moved by Riopel.
Second.
Second by Larson. Questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Pakshavinsky.
Yes.
Riopel.
Yes.
Olstead.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Scheduled bid lettings, there's none. Scheduled public hearings, there is none. Move on to the consent agenda. Items under the consent agenda will be adopted with one motion. However, council members may request individual items be pulled from the consent agenda for discussion and action if they choose. Anyone want 4, 5, or 6 pulled? If not, entertain a motion of 4, 5, and 6.
Move.
Moved by Pakshavinsky.
Second.
Second by Peterson. Questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Pakshavinsky.
Yes.
Riopel.
Yes.
Olstead.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Acknowledge receipt of reports of officers, boards, and commissions. Regular meeting minutes of Water, Light, Power, and Building Commission for May 15th, 2024. Communication. We have the presentation of the 2023 financial audit report. Ms. Anderson.
Good evening, Council President and Council. I'd like to introduce to you Brian Opsahl, who is the lead auditor for Brady Martz on audit this year. And so he's going to present both our annual comprehensive financial report, and we did qualify for a single audit with the federal government because we had over $750,000 of federal government grants. So I'll let Brian speak. Thank you.
All right. Good evening. Similar to probably last year, I have a tendency to go through things relatively quick, so feel free to slow me down and ask questions as you have them. We do have 2 reports to go through tonight, so it'll be a lot of pages and a lot of flipping, but I'll do my best to explain some of the highlights anyway. So couple things I'll point out. As far as new significant accounting policies, there weren't anything that was material to the financial statements that affected the city this year. There's a new accounting policy related to compensated absences going forward for next year, so you'll see a change in the liability calculation. It's really, historically, it's been basically a termination benefit, meaning if you earn compensated absences and you get paid out upon resignation or termination from employment, we would set those up as a liability. Now the PTO or compensated absences will be also including leave that you've accrued that you just haven't used yet that may or may not be paid out upon your end. So the liability will likely go up. Once again, nothing's necessarily changed. It's just more of a accounting exercise for the financial statement. So that'll change. No disagreements with management, no difficulties performing the audit. Staff does a great job of responding timely to us and answering our questions, which makes our job a lot easier. So we appreciate that. We'll start with the small report first. That's the compliance report. And what this report is it's really a 2-part report starting on page 1. Page 1 is the government auditing standards report. This includes basically a high-level overview of your internal control structure at the city, and we do not have any findings, so that's considered a clean report. There's also a paragraph in here on Minnesota legal compliance. The state of Minnesota provides us with a legal compliance guide, things like conflicts of interest, pledge collateral, bid work, etc. We also have a clean paragraph on that as well. So that's Nothing to note. Then we get to pages 3 through 5. As Carla mentioned, you were qualified for the single audit, as it's known, or uniform guidance audit, because you received and spent over $750,000 of federal dollars. And so this, starting on page 3, is another opinion on a program that we tested. We tested 20.205, which is the Highway Planning and Construction Grant, and this is an unmodified opinion on that grant. So we did not have any findings or comments related to the testing on that grant. And then lastly, within this report, page 6 just breaks out the different types of federal dollars that you received. And so it's based off of your expenditures incurred. So even though you may have received COVID dollars, for example, in advance, this only lists out those that have been spent so far. So that's what this is intended to do. And like I said, anytime you're over $750,000 at this point in time, I think that's going to change to $1 million here in a year or two. But for right now, you qualified for that this year. So any questions on that single audit report that have been something different that you wouldn't have had in years past, or not every year anyway? Okay, hearing none, we'll go into the annual comprehensive financial report. And you'll see in here there's different sections broken down by tabs, and I'll try to do my best to keep everybody in line as far as what I'm going to go through. So the first tab is the introductory section, and this section is designed to basically go through highlights, what's called a letter of transmittal that management puts together, and has some highlights as far as some economic factors, et cetera, that the city is going through. And so it's kind of a nice read as far as how the outlook might look and where you're sat for 2023. It includes the Certificate of Achievement for Excellent Financial Reporting, which is something that's been received every year from the GFOA, which is why the report is due on June 30th every year. And then it breaks down the organizational chart and lists out the election, or the elected officers and administrative personnel. So the financial section gets into really the auditor's piece of this. Starts on page 8. And this is the independent auditor's report, and we've issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, so that's considered a good or clean opinion, that they are fairly stated in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. It is management's responsibility for all the numbers in the financial statements, the footnotes within these statements, and then we are to review and ensure that they are reasonably stated then in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, and that is what we are saying by our clean opinion. So we do help put the financial statements together, but management reviews and like I said, takes responsibility and could do that if they had the time and the resources like we do at Brady Marts. Next section starts on page 11 through page 18. This is management's discussion and analysis. Kind of similar in the letter transmittal in that it has some highlights of the year under review. You're going to see some comparative information. So if you're kind of looking to see where your debt was, for example, from last year to this year, you're going to see that in that section. And it's just meant to be condensed information, maybe an easier read than the whole 100 and some pages that you're going to see in the rest of the financial statements. So the first audited financial statement starts on page 19. So pages 19 and 20, this is the statement and net position. And so the way that this works is you're going to have a column for the governmental activities, column for business type activities like water and light, et cetera. And then you have a total for your primary government. And then all the way on the right, you're going to see the component unit, which is your EDA funds. And those also receive an opinion from our audit. And those are deemed to be material to the financial statements, which is why they get reported underneath the city's audit report. The bottom number that you're going to see on page 20 then shows the overall net position on a full accrual level. And by full accrual, I mean we're rolling in your fixed assets and related depreciation, all of your long-term debt, the net pension liability, which I think we maybe discussed in years past. The bottom number is then your overall retained earnings or equity within the entity as a whole. So the total between both governmental activities and business type activities is $199,875,969. The line that you see above that is your unrestricted portion. that's not necessarily then tied down into any restricted resources or into your capital assets. So you can see $25,782,497 is that number as far as available to spend, so to speak. Page 21 then shows the changes on that full accrual level. So you can see 3 lines from the bottom is the overall change. Governmental activities was up $503,078. Business type activities up $2,027,965. And then over on the right, you can see the EDA funds are up $40,640. And as we start going through these financial statements, you're going to see they kind of get broken down more and more and more throughout the back. So there's going to be a lot more information in the back of the financial statements. But starting on page 22, this is going to start breaking down the individual funds that you have that are considered major. So each one of these funds that you see here listed, it basically gets its own opinion when we do our audit. And if you look on page 22, 2 lines from the bottom is going to be the fund balance in all of those different funds. And so you could see the first column of numbers is your general fund, which ended with a fund balance of $7,244,930. And the line right above that is your unassigned balance, which is the balance that you have available to be spent, $7,211,927. Like I said, those are not earmarked or restricted for any purpose at this time. The only other thing I'll bring to your attention on this page is the third column of numbers there. The current city projects fund currently does have a deficit fund balance, 2 lines to the bottom, of $219,339. So just something to kind of to be cognizant of, that at some point, if that fund doesn't become whole, or you might have to do some kind of a transfer to make that back to zero. A lot of times it's a timing thing. Maybe you spend some money down first and then you get tax dollars, et cetera, state grants or something like that to cover that. But just anytime we see a negative, we just want to make sure that you realize that a different fund currently is borrowing that fund some money up until that point. Then if we want to flip the page to page 24, page 24 once again is the changes within each one of those funds. The general fund, as an example, 3 lines to the bottom, was a change of a positive $743,627. That is after transfers as well, which I think you have budgeted transfers every year that go in and out of various funds based off of debt, et cetera. Then next thing is on page 25. This will be your budget to actual schedule for the general fund. So basically looking at where you expected to end up on your final budget versus what your actual was. And so the number that you see in the bottom right corner on page 26 is the difference between your budget and your actual. So actually was $870,640 better than what you'd anticipated, a combination of more revenues than anticipated, as well as less expenditures than was anticipated. And this can be, timing of projects, et cetera, that happens from year to year. Also note it now, but we'll get to it in a minute too, and I won't go into much detail on it, but in the back of the financials, we have a very detailed breakdown of your budget in the general fund, so it gets broken down by line and department, so you can see exactly where that differences were. So then pages 27, 28 gets into your business type activities. And so earlier this morning, I reported on the water and light funds at a board meeting. And so the other funds that you're going to see here, sewage, stormwater, commercial properties, and then you have a refuse fund as well. And so if you look on page 28, second column from the right on the bottom, overall your business type activities, positive $75,837,138. All the funds have positive fund balance on this page, so no issues there. If you flip the page to page 29, you're going to see the changes in the business type activities. Second column again from the right, 3 lines from the bottom. The overall change was $2,027,965 positive after transfers. A big chunk of that was in the electric fund of about $1.6 million. And you can see the other funds where they ended up as well. And then lastly, on the proprietary funds, pages 30 and 31 is your cash flow statement. And so second column from the right, 3 lines from the bottom, you can see the overall change in cash and cash flow, or cash flows, was a deficit $1,128,110. A majority of this is due to capital related purchases. So if you can look in the electric fund, for example, was down about $1.2 million, largely due to capital asset purchases. This also includes, like, if you buy investments like CDs, those kind of things, it's going to come out of your cash flows, so that also affects this. It just changes from cash to an investment. Then the next several pages, pages 32 through 53, this is the footnotes to the financial statements, and so I probably won't go into any detail on this. If there are questions, we can certainly circle back, but it's going to have your accounting policies, information on your debt schedules, capital asset activity, net pension liability, etc. Starting on page 62 through 78, we start getting into, like I said, those breakdowns of some of the other funds. And so if you didn't see the fund broken out on the front of the financials, you're going to see them broken out in the back here. There are 2 other funds that had deficit fund balances, like I mentioned on the current city project fund. That would be the transit fund and the benefit accrual fund. So those are the other 2 funds that would have deficits, just to keep your eye on to make whole at some point in time. Pages 79 through 82. These are your internal service funds, so breaking out your benefit accrual fund and your central equipment fund. So if you're looking for the activity, that's where you're going to find that. As I mentioned previously, starting on page 83, we're starting to get into the general fund breakout of quite a bit of detail on your budget to actual. So pages 82, 83 and 84 are basically all your revenue line items. And then starting on page 85, you start getting into the expense line items. So like I said, a lot more detail if you're looking for kind of where those differences might have occurred. 93, starting on page 93 through 98 is going to be the breakdown of your component units, or the EDA funds. So we have housing and economic development. So if you're looking to see the breakdown of those 2 funds, you're going to find it in that section. And then lastly, the back half of this report, starting on page 99 through the rest, is your statistical section. And the statistical section, it goes through a lot more different information, multiple years worth of things like property tax levy information, debt information, etc. Probably won't go into any detail of unless anybody's got any questions on it, but lots of information. Some of it's 10 years worth of data, so you can kind of see where you're trending, etc. Like I said, that was a very quick run through. I'd be happy to circle back and answer any questions anybody might have.
Anybody have any questions? Have something to add, Ms. Anderson?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I want to thank the departments for all their help in the audit and actually through the whole year. If without their help, we wouldn't be able to put this out, and I want to especially thank Megan, Terry, and Brianna, because we would not be able to do it with their help. So I just really want to thank you guys for their help.
See none. Appreciate it so much. Thanks,
Thank you.
We'll move on to old business. Consider adopting an ordinance 41, 4th series, amending chapter 132, discharging firearms, in 132.04B, and to use bow and arrow section 132.06, and by adopting reference City Code chapter 10 and section 10.99, which among other things contain penalty provisions. A second reading.
Second.
Second by Larson. Questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Pakshavinsky?
Yes.
Riepel?
Yes.
Olsted?
Yes.
Larson?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Move on to new business. Consider approving the agreement between the City of East Grand Forks and the Countrywide Sanitation Company, extending the contract for refuse and recycling collection for the city from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2029.
Move.
Moved by Larson.
Second.
Second by Peterson. Questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Pakshavinsky.
Yes.
Riepel.
Yes.
Olsted.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Number 11, consider approving the agreement between the City of East Grand Forks and True Check LLC for building inspection services for a 2-year period starting June 20th, 2024.
Move.
Moved by Pakshavinsky.
Second.
Second by Riepel. Questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Pakshavinsky.
Yes.
Riepel.
Yes.
Olsted.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Consider approving the grade crossing construction and maintenance agreement between the City of East Grand Forks and BNSF Railroad Company for the Central Avenue Railroad Crossing.
Move.
Moved by Larson, second by Riepel. Questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Pakshavinsky.
Yes.
Riepel.
Yes.
Olsted.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Claims, consider authorizing the city administrator clerk treasurer to issue payment of recommended bills and payroll.
Move.
Moved by Larson,
Second.
second by Pakshavinsky. Questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Pakshavinsky.
Yes.
Riepel.
Yes.
Olsted.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Mayor Gander.
Thanks, Mr. President. Just one thing, I want to make sure we all have front and center in our minds that these recreation projects are coming up this fall. I know in Parks and Rec right now, we're working on bringing back that committee and starting to meet and then bringing out to the public what it is that we plan to do in these projects. And so please keep your ear to the rail and know it's coming this fall. We'll all have a chance to hopefully give approval to these projects. A couple of our ice arenas will get some good deep maintenance, and then that'll free up some dollars to pay attention to our ball diamonds and other things. And I just wanted to, again, make sure we're all aware of that. And if there are ways that you would like to volunteer, if anyone hears about this and they're really enthusiastic about recreation in our community, I guarantee if you call Jeremy and our Parks Department, we will have a place for you to get involved, especially as we ramp up into the fall for the vote in November. Thanks.
Mr. Pakshavinsky.
Nothing. Thank you.
Mr. Riepel.
Just one thing, I had a former resident that has moved down to the cities and still watches us religiously on all our council meetings. So to Jim, I'd like to say thank you and keep watching.
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Larson.
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Shetland.
Just one thing, update, Congresswoman Fishback was in town today for a visit with some local business leaders and elected officials. Thank you, President Olsted, for being able to attend and kind of lead that for us today. The discussion was really good. Attendance was great. Business leaders really came out and shared their opinion. Discussion was really strong. Discussed a lot of the state issues that we're facing. Senator Johnson, Representative Keel were there. But also the issues that we're seeing at the federal level, specifically a lot of discussion about inflation, high interest rates, how those are kind of hitting us locally, high insurance costs, both from homeowners and automobile rates, and just really the impact that the policy type decisions at the federal level even are having that trickle down and hitting us at home. So I'm really thankful for the business leaders that were able to come out, and a really great discussion, and thank her and her staff for making their time to be able to come to East Grand Forks and see us. And then lastly, just a reminder that Juneteenth holiday tomorrow, the City Hall and other offices will be closed for the day. Back to work bright and early Thursday morning.
Mr. Golstead.
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Emery.
I have nothing.
Anything from the department heads? I see none. Entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Pakshavinsky.
Second.
Second by Riepel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Meeting is adjourned.
Chief Headland. Thank you.